Aloha, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Jane McGuinness. She is the author of Always Hungry: How I Lost the Weight and Found Myself. She's also a registered clinical counselor, a mother of three. Jane advocates acceptance, gratitude, and kindness above all else. It maintains that a day without laughter is a day wasted. I love that. I'm reading your bio here, just part of your bio, and I just kind of took the parts that really touched my heart. I love kindness is my foundation. Acceptance is a very
Mhm.
wise piece of healing and a very spiritual component too. And then you have
Mhm.
laughter. Yeah. Oh, I mean, you
Yeah.
just brought everything together in that soup
Oh,
of great
thank
living, of
you.
well-being. Thank you so much for your beautiful presence already in our shared reality. And the full bio will be at the end. The first question I love asking everyone is, how would you introduce yourself? Who is Jane in this very moment?
Oh, oh. I described myself yesterday actually as a bit of a Care Bear. I remember growing up, we all had those Care Bears, and I realized
Yeah.
I think that's who I am. I think that's why I went into counseling. That's why I always wanted children who are, the center of my world. But, my extended family and friends, um, my children, that's
Mm,
everything. I'm
mm, mm.
sometimes I feel like that's my role in life, is just to, yeah, just to give love to everyone, and
Yeah.
just with kindness and acceptance, and yeah, and we have to laugh because everything's pretty crazy out there, and like
Right.
if we didn't laugh, I couldn't get through the day, frankly. There's just no way.
I agree. I agree. That's a part of life that for some reason we have forgotten, or some of us, and we forget most of the time, and we kind of dismiss as something that's not useful or helpful a lot of times with the day-to-day work and all that. But to me, that translates into lightness, playfulness. They talk a lot in spiritual terms in being light, that we are light. So I think about living this reality here, this life as a human, then that's what it means to me, like becoming lighter in a sense of
Mhm.
not taking life too seriously or ourselves too seriously all the time, and kind of, right, isn't it, is that how you think sometimes too?
Absolutely, and I really, really try and teach that to my children, who are all grown. So it's
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
course they're
Still your
often
children, yeah.
often too busy to have a conversation. No, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
kidding. They're terrific, but I really do absolutely try and emphasize that and impart that upon them, that it's the only way to navigate life is to just accept that most things are out of our control. Most things we can't change.
mm,
And when we do that, it's just, for me anyway, so much
mm.
peace that comes with that, because what's left is just love and kindness. And I mean, I wish I knew this years ago, of course. I hadn't figured this out in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but at this point in my 40s, to realize that that's, if someone's struggling, I mean, or if they're rude in a store, you can see they're in pain. They need more kindness and love. So yeah, I don't know. I think I probably need one of those Care Bear outfits,
yeah.
because we need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need that. And no, I think acceptance is radically accepting everything is the only way.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful, powerful message.
Mhm.
Knowledge, and then wisdom, which is the application of knowledge from my perspective. If we can
Mhm.
apply that, acceptance more often too, we'll laugh more. We'll be a lot kinder in so many ways. So, talk to me about the book. How did you become a writer? Always Hungry. I like the title. I mean, the title is very. I mean, I think about the appetite for life when I kind of look at it, the
Yeah,
title. But
exactly. No, no, thank you for the question, and for having me, of course. Initially it was just hungry in my mind. That was the title because
mm,
I was always hungry, but I figured out on my healing journey, I figured out it was never food I was hungry for, because often we all, we comfort eat, we emotionally eat and snack, but we're not hungry for food, of
right.
course. What,
Right.
we're eating to escape, we're eating to distract, we're under stress,
Mm,
we're
mm,
anxious, we're
mm.
upset, a million reasons we all eat for that. Often we're so disconnected from the body, we're
Yeah.
not even aware of what's going on, below the neck. And
Right.
so
Right, Jane.
always hungry for me really, and for people who are curious and read it, they'll discover that what I learned on the journey is that it was never food that I was hungering for. And now at this point in my life with my children grown, I'm hungry to travel and have adventures and just spread kindness and love, and wake up every day and try and be a good human, and try and do something positive in the world. I really, at this point in my life, want to yeah, be a good person. And if I can help anyone who may have these same, be where I was and have these struggles, I mean, that's my goal now, to
Yeah.
reach people and help them.
It's a beautiful intention, though, to help others, to learn. Of course, you are open to do the work of learning. I mean, you become a therapist even, so that is yeah, that's a
Mhm.
different level of understanding. I really find it to be sacred. I always say that. So
Mm.
we'll dive into it a little more. Talk to me about the cover. Like when I saw the cheesecake, I definitely got hungry when I saw that. I think I even mentioned like, "Oh, that's delicious." Did you
Well,
design
it's
or the cover yourself, or gave it some
um
input?
no, well, it was the team, with my publisher. I mean, they came up with a few. They had about 12 initial suggestions and ideas, and that one just grabbed me. I mean, partly because, well, I love the color, but there's an incident in the book around cheesecake where I'm very, very honest about, my disordered
Mm,
eating in the past, and what was really an escape from reality. It had nothing to do with being hungry. And
yes.
obviously, I'm at the point now where I can enjoy a piece of cheesecake, and then,
Mhm.
with balance and moderation, which is another message I share, that we don't need to give up. We don't need to give up certain food groups. You can lose weight and sustain weight loss, and
Right.
you can still enjoy things. It really does just come down to common sense and moderation, which I always say, unfortunately, common sense is not all that common, especially not diet
Yes.
culture. It's non-existent. But yeah, cheesecake is something that, I'll enjoy occasionally now, but obviously it's balanced, with exercise and just common sense. I mean, we shouldn't be eating too much of anything every day, because that's just,
Mhm.
yeah, you just end up with a tummy ache, and nobody wants that.
Yes, right.
But
That
yeah,
is
it
so.
was.
Oh yes, yeah. Please, yeah, please, Jane, conclude. You're concluding your thought there.
Oh, no, no, I was all good. I was just going to say, yeah, I think the cover's appropriate because it was something that I had in the past, just a little too often. The balance was out.
Yeah.
And when it's comfort eating, it's what we need, and what I learned as a therapist, of course, because the study of human behavior is fascinating. And when I
Mm,
learnt this field myself, on this journey, I realized that, yeah, it was never about the food. I needed to
mm,
deal with the emotions and the dysregulation in my
mm.
body, and why I was anxious and upset, and deal with those feelings and sit with them and process them, as opposed to just avoiding them, which we often do when we go to the fridge or the pantry and we're in the kitchen with no physical hunger. You know, yeah.
Yes, it's so true though. It's like, I mean, it's so clear to me. I even these days, I sometimes I feel like eating certain things, and then I immediately make the connection. Wait a minute, why do I want to eat bread? I usually don't eat bread. So sometimes when I feel like eating bread, that doesn't have a lot of nutritional value in anything. So I think,
Mhm.
what are the emotions? Why do I want to eat this bread? And then that comes up, yeah, something, I feel like something's missing, and now maybe because my husband's not around. And then
Mhm.
yeah, and then I feel like it's fascinating, right, Jane, how if you ask questions, you become curious enough, then the answers come, and then you become
Oh,
aware.
it's so true. And I think if we can just take that moment to pause, if we take that moment just to ground ourselves, maybe like feel your feet on the floor and just stop and pause and check in with your stomach and ask, like, what's going on here? And quite often it's, yeah, we're seeking love, we need a
Mm,
hug, we want to maybe talk to a friend, that's always, Yeah, it's rarely physical hunger. And I know myself, I do love a good piece of sourdough, but
Mm.
if I'm standing there wanting more of it and there's no physical hunger, I know there's something else going on in that moment. And it's
Right,
usually an unprocessed emotion. It's something that I need to deal with. It's a sign now. And we can learn these things, of course, and make these changes. It takes
right,
it's not as easy. It takes work and practice. But I've learned that if you want something badly enough, you can do it and you can make the changes. You've just got to, like most things in life, we can't avoid the work. Like it's hard work and yeah, and
right.
worth it in my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you said that too. Yeah, it's doing the work because it's worth it, isn't it? I even we use the word because there. It is very much worth it doing the work. I absolutely agree. So
Oh,
before I dive
okay.
into it, I have so many things. I wanted to ask you this question. Writing this book specifically, what was the passage or the section in the book that was the most challenging to write?
Thank that's a great question. Thank you. It's interesting because my journey did involve you know, a divorce and separation from my ex-husband and we're friends. We have a very
Yeah.
amicable co-parenting relationship and he's a good guy, but that was tough because I wanted to respect his
Yeah.
privacy. I mean, of course, his name has changed. Didn't want to, I wanted to be honest and authentic and share the story, but I was really cognizant of the fact that there were certain things that just weren't appropriate to share because he didn't ask for this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he didn't want the divorce, so it was tough. And when I read, I recorded the audiobook in a studio and I voiced it, and
Yes.
I have to say that was getting to the acknowledgements at the end. Um, it was
Mm.
when I got to the section where I thanked my ex-husband that um, it was really emotional because,
Yeah.
it was, nobody ever goes into a marriage thinking of divorce. And my
Yes.
children were the collateral damage. And so that was actually the hardest because um,
Yeah.
I still, I love him and yeah,
Mm.
you never want to hurt someone, do you?
Right.
When it doesn't
Right.
work out. So that was, um, yeah,
Yeah, that's beautiful
that was
though.
me.
I can feel the grief, right? It's like, isn't it this the a loss, like something's dying. So yeah. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and it was, I'm grateful that we can be in each other's lives, as
Yes.
friends, but yeah, I don't know, I still feel his pain, and I know it was deeper because he didn't ask for the divorce. So um, I had to try and tread carefully when I wrote those chapters,
Yes.
but while at the same time balancing the need to be as to share so that people knew, okay, like, and this of course happens in, you know, I guess
Yes.
roughly 50% of cases, sadly, which is why I'm not zero desire to ever remarry again in my entire life.
Oh, really? No, no, no.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
fun.
oh, Jane. Yes, I know you
No,
mentioned that. I saw that in the book. Yeah. I think you said
yeah.
something about something very funny. I was laughing at that. Who needs a husband? I think you wrote it that way. Let me see. It was funny the way you said it. Yeah, I think you mentioned you wanted to travel more. Do where did you say that? Oh, so many things. Yeah, I
I
made
know.
so
I,
many
I,
notes
I
here that I'm. Yeah, you made a note about who needs a. Where is it? I'm trying to find it here because I have a note.
Oh, I know it might have
Do
been
you
in
remember?
the chapter, patriarchy. I'm just trying to recall which
Ah,
page it was.
right.
But yeah,
Um,
I mean, obviously, divorce is, it's just, I think no matter who chooses it or wants it, it's just, it's pretty horrific.
yeah,
And so,
yeah,
yeah, just zero desire to ever entertain that again. But I
right.
respect that for some people, it's a really sacred, special thing. And that's beautiful if that's their path. And yeah, for some people it works beautifully. And yeah,
Right, right. And
I'm
especially with
glad.
children, I can imagine, right, Jane? With children, that must be much more challenging.
Well, and our family's all in Australia, so we moved here for his work. It was a company move. We didn't have the family support when things fell apart. So that was well, they're obviously all still in Australia. That's when you realize, okay, I'm a long way from home right now, and my kids they can't hug their grandparents. Um,
Right.
yeah, so I was very aware of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah. So yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't. That's funny because there are so many emotionally powerful messages in your book that because looking from a different perspective, right, my perspective, I couldn't see that as the most emotional like part. But of course, that's why I asked the question: what was the most
Mm,
emotional challenging for you? Because in my eyes, could have been something else. Oh yeah, I found what you said. I just found it. You said, what on earth would I do with a husband? Not to mention the fact that married men live longer than their unmarried counterparts. So married women do not live as long as men do. That is,
exactly. It's true. Those are statistics. I mean, that's kind of alarming, isn't it? Really.
it is. It is. Is that true? Is that actually something accurate?
Absolutely. So a married man will live longer, and yeah, married women don't.
Wow.
Apparently, the studies now find that single women are the happiest bunch. They're
Right,
independent,
right,
they do what they want. I
right,
mean, not that I'm not advocating we all be single forever, but yeah, there's evidently a lot of people out there quite happy, and yeah, older women
right.
unmarried. I know some of my girlfriends who are divorced have zero interest
In
in any.
remarrying or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's kind of interesting. So another, talk to me for a moment about the patriarchy and how it has influenced and hurt women when it comes to their self-esteem and body image and all that. That's something that you have
Mm.
experienced.
Mhm. Well, that was absolutely something that I did want to share because, I mean, and when I think back to the chapter, the online dating, that I tried, post divorce, and the pressure, to look a certain way, and the things that men would just very candidly, overtly say were just
Yeah.
disgusting, like really. It was, yeah, the whole experience was it was quite horrific. And, I found that because I was a stay-at-home mother for a long time, and I'm grateful I got to raise my children when they were little. I don't take that for granted. I know I was fortunate to have that. That was a privilege. But at the same time, going through the divorce and then realizing, oh, I don't have a credit rating. I don't have a vehicle in my name. I don't have any insurance. I don't have a bank account in my own name. Like the Canadians, because I was Australian, there was no record of me. I went into the bank and they couldn't pull up anything. So I
Wow.
really did have to start over, even trying to
Right.
buy a car and, being asked where my husband was, like it was really eye-opening that in this day and age, well, this was a while ago now, but nevertheless, I was
Mm.
shocked. I was
Yeah.
really shocked. And of course, because I'd been at home for a long time and had been out of the workforce. I mean, I gave up my career when I was pregnant with my first child. So yeah, it only was only in the separation and divorce I realized just
Right.
how much I'd given up, and just the rebuilding process for women.
Mm.
You know, when we put
Yeah.
our career on hold and then realize, oh, suddenly I need to retrain, I need to go back and study, I need, it
Right.
was all because it was so long ago.
Right. Yeah, that I see that. Yeah, that a lot of women still live that reality, especially in different countries. Yeah, in my own
Mm,
country, Brazil. I mean, I'm American, but my that's my background as Brazilian, and then I
mhm,
see a lot of women there still living that kind of life. But then again, it
yeah,
goes back to inner work, doesn't it, Jane? Because it is possible to live a life that's balanced. I think everything goes back to balance, doesn't it? I usually don't
mhm,
take sides because it feels very unhealthy to me to take sides. I do interviews sometimes, and I have some people around me who are feminists, some women, and they are very, very, very strong about a lot of our own rights. And I never letting go of our own inner, especially our inner power, which I think no
Mhm.
one should let go of that, right? We all need to
Mhm.
have that within ourselves, that sacred space. That's me. And we don't have to give that away, men or women. I think that's one of the things that I really focus on, this inner power that we have, inner wisdom. Just do
Mhm.
not give that away. Once we give that away, then it's really difficult to find balance once that's lost.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think I discovered it through the process of the separation and the divorce. And I had stepped into that power and realized my power as a woman because I, yeah, up until that point, I was mom, like I was somebody's mother, somebody's
Yeah.
daughter, somebody's wife. But I really didn't have, you know, it
Mm.
was, it was I really, yeah, there was a lot of soul searching that happened at that point when I realized, like, who am I at this point in my
Yes.
life? Yeah,
Yes.
because I was
Yeah.
living for everybody else. I mean, my needs were just, they didn't come last. They weren't really considered, when it's little children screaming and, you've got a husband at
Yeah.
work. It's all about the dishwasher and the laundry. And, that's like it's a decade and a half gone. And those are
Right.
the,
Right.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
don't get me wrong. It was a privilege, but yeah, I think women often, when you choose that role, we lose ourselves in our identity.
Mm.
Just completely. I
Yes.
know I did. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So it does. It goes back to what you said very early. You mentioned that this concept of balance, which it has to do, to me, with wisdom. That's where we know how to dance with all parts of life, parts of ourselves, and then life too, and then creates the sense of
Mhm.
harmony. I think the word that I use more often is harmony, because that has to do with nature. So I'm always kind of paying attention to nature and following more of
Yes.
that rhythm. And
Mhm.
it's just and we are not different from nature. That's the thing. We just have forgotten too, humans, right? We are nature. Another thing
Everything's
that I love about you in your work and what you represent is that the perspective. We talked briefly off record, and you have both perspective of being in a body that was overweight. I mean, overweight is also isn't that another
Mhm.
concept, another idea? I really think so, because if we are overweight but we are healthy and we are happy, I don't see what the problem would be. I know
Mhm.
that comes with a lot of times, being unhealthy, but it doesn't have to. I know some people who are bigger in their bodies, but they're so happy and they're healthy people. They have no reason,
Mhm.
but they're still judged, right? According to, in society, they're still. So talk to me about that on record now.
Of
the
course,
these stories.
absolutely, because that was one of the reasons. Of course, there were many reasons I wrote the book, but what I realized, and I fully respect that some people, you're right, they're very, very happy and comfortable in a larger body. That I
Yeah.
wasn't, and I wasn't for a few reasons. I wasn't because, of course, it was the emotional comfort eating. It was that's what I had to get on top of and figure out. It wasn't healthy, and I also loved being active. I played sport when I was a kid. I loved skiing, and then um, when I started to heal and I realized, okay, I'm not comfortable in a larger body. I didn't feel good. I didn't have energy. I was tired, and I wanted to set an example for my children of what a healthy relationship with food is and a healthy relationship with my body. And when I healed, I just got to a happy, healthy weight that I'm at now, and I did it the old-fashioned way. I did it with just eating healthy food, and it was just the balance. Okay, so we have less cheesecake, we have more vegetables, make sure I get
Yes.
protein, not craving sugar. It was those small healthy changes over time, and a lot of walking and a lot of hiking and activity. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to share that message, because for people that want to make changes, it's just there's so much noise in diet culture. It's
Mm.
definite, and most of it is just ridiculous. It's just complete nonsense, and people don't want to hear. I mean, there's no money in telling somebody to go for a walk and just fill up on, vegetables and, some a yummy piece of fish or whatever. And,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
so I wanted to cut through the nonsense, but I also wanted to share my experience because I was, and I'm aware now that I do have that thin privilege, that it's it was really, really sad to realize, wow, I'm treated really well now because, if I've done my hair and I leave the house and I'm well dressed, I'm treated so well. And that's just so
Mm,
incredibly wrong and incredibly sad because I wasn't. I was the same person, of course, but when
yeah.
I left the house in a much larger body, you know, 15 years ago, like when my kids were little and, I'd gained a lot of weight during pregnancy, it was, yeah, I was treated very, very differently and by
Mm,
everybody. I mean, this isn't just
wow.
a patriarchy thing. I mean, sometimes women were quite rude, like overtly rude, and
Yeah.
now I'm treated
Yeah.
very well, and that's wrong. And I had to speak out for that reason too, because it's just had to call it out and say it's not okay. Why
Yeah.
can't we just all be kind to each other?
Mm,
Somebody else's body is none of your business. It's
yeah.
not our business to. We don't have the right to judge.
Right.
And somebody may be comfortable in a large body. They may be trying to make changes. And ultimately, it's just none of our business. That's
Mm,
between them and maybe their doctor or their dietitian, or them and God. It's got nothing to do with us, and we're so judgmental, and yeah, it
right.
makes me sad.
Yeah. It is a sad reality, right? In a sense, a sad
Mm,
truth because it still
yeah,
happens.
exactly.
Yeah, I noticed that, especially in some specific areas in the United States, some cities, that women are just so thin. I'm like, oh my God,
Mhm.
she's too thin.
Yeah,
She's too thin. Like it's almost the opposite. You're too thin. I mean, they
you're
just
right.
avoid eating. Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. You're about to say
Well, I
something, Jane.
apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt, but that alarms me too because we've seen the pendulum swing back almost from,
Yeah.
yes, there's the body acceptance, neutrality, like positivity, body positive
Yeah.
movement, but now, and with Ozempic and with other interventions now, it really alarms me that you're seeing people that are underweight and suddenly that ultra thin, the look that was in the waif look in the 90s seems to be back. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really terrifying. I mean, and I have, well, when I look at my children, I mean, they're all foodies and they have a great healthy relationship with their bodies, but it really concerns me. I mean, what are we telling this next generation, that
Mm,
your intrinsic worth is based on the size of your genes, and whether you're a small or an extra small or an extra extra small,
right.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we still have a long way to go, unfortunately.
I think so too. Yeah, it feels that way. It goes back to you see that we come back to this inner wisdom of respecting ourselves and being kind to ourselves and not trying to fit in any box and being with what other people wants from us. And that's what really, really, to me, that's the foundation of suffering. Really, that's what really comes up over and over again, trying to please others, trying to fit in, trying to be what we are not. And that happens a lot. That's a beautiful message for teenagers, right? Young girls and boys. I mean, especially young girls. But I think it's a modeling thing, isn't it, Jane? We need to model that, like you as a mother, modeling that for your children, so they can see that as truth. Oh, my mother's doing that, so then that
Hmm.
makes sense. Because if we just say it, then it's not as impactful as living
Yeah,
the truth.
I, I certainly try, and I really do. I do have a passion for sport now. I mean, I love hiking and I love
Yeah,
skiing, downhill and cross country, and mountain biking, and I love being active. So for me now, remaining healthy for obviously for a few reasons. I mean, I want to live a long time. I mean, because I don't know, as I've mentioned in the book, one of my children may decide to have children, so I'd certainly like to be here for it. So I realized that for me, I want to just feel that vitality and energy that comes with, and I love the outdoors, so I couldn't imagine not being active. So maintaining my health long term is absolutely so non-negotiable. But I think also, for anybody who embarks on this journey, they discover that really, like, you know, real good food, proper, like, whole
Mhm.
foods are actually delicious.
Mm.
I just can't stand
Mhm.
anything really heavily processed anymore because I feel sick when I eat it. My body doesn't like it. I lack energy. It's just,
Right.
and so I try and model just common sense for the kids. It's like, okay,
Yes.
let's just move because that's also so important for our mental health.
Right. Right.
We feel better mentally, we feel better physically, we've all got energy, we're just putting into our bodies what we need, which I believe is just
Mm.
as unprocessed as possible, just whole real food, and then go for a walk and just go and enjoy life. And
Ah,
yeah, standing at the kitchen, like in the fridge, looking in there, like, and you're not hungry, then that's a sign that it's maybe time to do some therapy, some emotional, some work on
right.
figuring out what's going on. Yeah.
Right, right. So you really you're making very I mean your message is very simple in a way. It's based on common sense because it's almost like
Mhm.
that we can become our own scientists in a way. That's what I do. I'm always like trying when I try something and then I stop, I pause. I mean, of course, it takes some
Mhm.
hours, sometimes the next day to see how the body feels. Like, wait a minute. So, no, I won't
Mhm.
try that again. I'm always experimenting that way because it's good to have a variety.
Mm.
And I'm very curious, so I do try different things. Of course, I don't like processed foods, but sometimes I try certain things like protein bars. Those are good. But then
Yeah.
I'm always paying attention how I feel in the body. How does the body feel? I'm always in touch with the body. So
So wise. Yeah.
yeah, that's a beautiful. I love the way how you're making very simple. As for those watching or listening to this, it's something to really pay attention to. That it can be very simple. The steps, but that are they? Would you say that these would be the same steps for those with eating disorder, or that would be more complex in a sense, Jane? Do they need therapy? Is that a
Yeah, I mean,
requirement?
I would certainly recommend to anybody if they're concerned that they do have an eating disorder or very, yeah, something that requires intervention. Then for sure, the first step is to go and seek help, speak to your doctor, get see a therapist, and yeah, and that's not always easy to do, of course,
Mm,
but
yeah.
yeah, essential to get professional help, like no question. But so many of us, even if some people don't have, they may not fit the criteria for a DSM diagnosis. That's not to say that they won't benefit from looking at their relationship with food and their body and doing the work. Yeah,
Yes. What is
absolutely.
the so what's the reference? How do we know when we are at that point of the need of therapy? Is there like a
Mhm.
mark? What is yeah? What are the signs?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, certainly obsessiveness, if you're avoiding events, social
Mm,
events, because, for fear of you're not going to see friends because you don't want to eat a certain thing. And
ah,
sometimes if we're excluding whole food groups, if we're restricting, I mean, because the thing is with something like binge eating as opposed to anorexia and bulimia, I mean, they're two sides of the same coin. When we're dysregulated and under stress, there's often one of two responses. People will either move toward food or away from it. So of course, if
yeah,
you're restricting anorexia, you'll move away from food under stress, and comfort, emotional, like, well, binge eater will move toward it. But
right.
yeah, when it becomes when it's a daily obsession, and it's certainly interfering with the quality of your life. And I think, and sometimes it, of course, can be very, very hard to say, okay, I do need help here. But I'd certainly encourage anybody to go and, yeah, speak to a
Mm,
professional if they're even slightly concerned, because we of course we live in this insane society that just worships, thin at any cost, and this insane ideal, and we're not all
yeah,
built that way. We're just
yeah.
not. I mean, for me, it's about, okay, do I feel healthy? Am I able to
Mm,
move freely and hike and be outdoors?
mm,
And
mm,
when we eat something, like, do I feel energized afterwards, or does that make me feel kind of sick? Because when we
yeah.
figure out, when we start to, with interoceptive awareness too, which is also huge and something that you can explore, with a therapist or without, but figuring out, like, truly being able to recognize, okay, like, how do I feel like internally right now? Am I dysregulated? Am I tired? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Like, what's going on in here? Am I just anxious?
Yeah.
So often we don't check in. We have no idea. We just instantly go to the kitchen for something with just no awareness of what's going on here. So that embodiment through the somatic work is
Mm.
incredibly powerful. So I absolutely recommend that for anybody who has, yeah, even a slightly sort of disordered relationship with food. I think
Right.
a lot of us do, far more
Oh,
than
yeah.
we
Oh, yeah.
admit.
Yeah, right. Then we know that's so true. So that's
Mhm.
called body disconnection, right, Jane? When we are not aware of what our body needs and we're just going through with the emotion, you call a body disconnection. Why does it happen? Is that trauma? Because traumatic
Mm.
event?
I mean, yeah, that could certainly be one path, getting to that point. And I was reading a study and I can't recall who did it now, but what they found, and this was just looking at girls, and what was alarming was that the disembodiment, it hits in those sort of preteen years where
Ah,
girls go from, and I know that myself when I was a child, and I would just eat and then I would go and play. There were no issues.
mm,
There was
yeah,
no emotional eating. There was no,
yeah.
at a certain point, yeah, what's very, very sad now. And of course, the world we live in and social media. I mean, there are so many factors, but what they're finding is at a young age, girls are starting to restrict, and they absolutely become disembodied. They're shutting down. They're not listening to those internal signals of hunger and fullness. It's oh no, I'm not going to eat that because I'll be fat and I need to look like this person on Instagram. And
Right, right.
yeah, trying to recall this study. I think it was certainly at around age 10 or 11. Like, there's a shift, and yeah, they found that it is yeah, in pretty much nearly all of these kids when they did this research, and that's terrifying.
It
It's really
is. It's
terrifying.
sad. Yeah. And I have seen I talk to a lot of people, so I have also seen the reality of suicide at amongst teenagers in the United
Mm.
States. It's alarming. It's
Yeah.
like shocking. It's really, really sad because they don't know what to do. And then, so
Exactly.
yeah, it's really
Mhm.
hard to talk about, but I do bring the topic here when somebody is willing to talk about these things, how important it is. Comparison, that's not a healthy thing to do. Although I do
Mm.
love the idea of motivation, right? Having somebody, because I remember I was a fitness trainer, I was a personal trainer and a competitor. And I remember
Mhm.
to help my career as a personal trainer, it's like a business strategy type of thing. I said,
Mhm.
oh, maybe somebody said, oh, why don't you do fitness competition? I said, oh, this is a good idea. I had no idea what the whole process would be like. And then I started
Mhm.
kind of researching, trying to look at all the women who were doing that or had done the work of competition and all that. And then I found this woman who won many, she won many championships. She's just beautiful, like in amazing shape. I said, oh, okay, I want to look like her. But that was more with the look of this, from the perspective of growing my business. So I would compete and
Mhm.
but then I did, and I won two championships, but it came at a price, and I became addicted. I don't know if you call it food disorder, just for a brief period of time, because I had to starve the body for a while, not eating this,
Mm.
not eating that. And I mean, it was such a restricted diet for about 4 months, training really hard, and I could not eat a lot of the things that the body needed. And then I became Oh, it was like such an unpleasant experience. It was a really horrific experience. It was not a good one
Mm.
competing. And then after that, I started overeating. I would get, the peanut butter, the jar, and I would eat the whole thing at once. I had never done that before. And I was not even aware of it. That's what was the interesting thing was I was not
Mm.
aware of the binge. And then I just would eat the whole thing, and then I would feel better. But then I would gain weight, and then like, oh, okay. And then I would look myself in the mirror. I couldn't recognize myself. Oh, that's strange. I gained weight so quickly. That was very
Yeah.
unhealthy. And then I couldn't stop for a while until I did, because I'm very self aware. I usually return to that. I have been
Mhm.
doing that my entire life, kind of. I'm very self aware. So I went back to my healthy state, but that was very dangerous. I could have just kind of kept eating and lost my
Yeah.
health. Not the body, like in that sense, but health,
Mhm.
because I was not feeling
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that
So
sounds
yeah, I'm trying to
incredible.
make the point about that comparison. Can be good when it's motivational, right? In that case, it was very motivational to see that woman that way and, win those competitions. And I had so many more clients because of it. But I paid the
Mhm.
price for it, and I could have lost myself too. It was
Yeah. Yeah,
dangerous.
and no, I appreciate you sharing that because you're right, it does come at a price. And I think as soon as we restrict, I mean, it's like any action,
Mm,
there's an equal opposite reaction. I think as soon as we restrict something, I know myself in years gone by before I was trying to lose the weight, before I figured out, moderation really is the boring
right,
path, but it works. It takes
right.
longer, but it works. But as soon as we restrict any food group, I mean, and when I tried to not eat carbs, so of course, all I would dream about was sourdough bread because I wasn't allowed to have it or sugar, you
Yes,
know? And
you
so
dream
now, of
about it.
course,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So now, of course, I really, it's just balance. I don't have a ton of it all the time because that wouldn't be healthy.
Mm,
But yeah, as soon as we, like you said yourself, when you had that restrictive regime when you were in training, of course, then what did you crave? You craved peanut butter. So now I won't. I don't eliminate any one thing. I mean, obviously, I'm not eating cheesecake every day because that wouldn't be healthy. But
yes.
if I'm at a restaurant and I feel like a piece, I'm going to enjoy it. And, it'll be balanced. And I know the next day I'm going for a walk. So it's just listening to the
Yeah.
body too, and
Mm,
because
yeah.
sometimes something can look good, but I know physically I'm not actually feeling like it. Like my stomach
Mm,
does not want that. So yeah,
right.
listening, because our body, we have that wisdom. I think when we
Mm,
really can truly listen, body tells us what it needs.
yes.
Yeah.
1,000,000,000%. That is incredibly true with the capital T. If we are listening. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us, we don't even hear that voice, we don't listen.
Right.
And that's something that, yeah, I want to impress upon people too. And I share that later in the book, how important it is
You
too.
do.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's so much in the book, though. One of the things that caught my attention that was very emotional for me. I don't know why, because I never done that before, so I couldn't relate to a lot of the experiences you had. Of course, I had my own, in the case, a lot of trauma, and I had
Yeah.
that time in my life where I was overeating because of the competition training after. But then
Mm.
I was reading the part where when you're a teenager with your friend, I think you had some diet pills with apricots. Yeah,
Gosh.
right. I didn't even know that they exist. So they are diet pills too, right? It's not just diets, diet pills. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, these were horrific, and we both learned the hard way, because of course we thought, well, we'll just take extra because they'll be far more
Oh no.
effective and they'll work faster. And honestly, yeah, we were both very, very unwell.
Yeah, that was
It's
like
really
gosh. So people go this far, right, Jane? There's a lot of you said there's a lot of things that I'm not aware of. So even the restricted diets, which is not good for the body, we need fats. We do need a lot of healthy fats. So, but a
exactly.
lot of women don't even go there because they don't want to, look in a certain way. It's
Yeah.
kind of sad. But then there's a diet pills. I didn't know about them.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, when we're going back to, gosh, I guess that was the mid 90s. And the crazy thing was, I mean, I was carrying, a few extra pounds at that point. Um, and sadly, my girlfriend I was with at the time really, she didn't, she would have been absolutely
Yeah.
at what a doctor would say would be a healthy weight for her frame. So it's looking back, it's terrifying to think that she also didn't think she looked like the waif supermodels. So also wanted to take the diet pills, which was frightening because yeah,
Right.
you know,
Right.
nobody would have objectively looked at her and said, okay, um, Whereas myself, it was clear that I was, there was some, there was some emotional comfort eating happening at that point. There
Yeah.
was, for a variety of reasons, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just sad to think that we both got that message. That unless you were rake thin in the mid 90s, like you weren't good enough, you didn't measure up, and
Mm.
you needed to change. Yeah.
Ah, that's just breaks my heart. This, yeah, it doesn't make sense. That's why it really doesn't make sense. Um, so there's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of you really share so much of your journey. I don't want to kind of say everything here because I want people to read the book to go through what you've been through. But there's so much that you share about your early upbringing already. It's almost like the beginning stages of for trauma, right? For the body image issue, body disconnection. I see that
Definitely.
that could happen. It's almost inevitable to
Yeah.
happen from these experiences. So we are almost at the
Yes.
end. Do oh yeah, you want to make a comment, Jane? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I was just agreeing. Like, you're right. It often, yeah, so much usually goes back to our childhood, whether it's, dysfunctional family, unhappy parents,
Mm.
whatever. There's sadly, whether it's big or small T trauma, and yeah, often, yeah, the body
It
keeps the
kind of
score.
it
Chemicals.
compounds, right? Yeah, right. Everything kind of yeah. The body keeps the score. I have
Oh,
that book is just wow. Yeah, it's so true. That's why it became a bestseller so quickly too, because it seems like
mm,
most people related to it, right? Like in a very truthful way. Wait a minute, that is true. So
yeah, no, yeah.
let me see. I made so many notes here. Some of the quotes in your book too that caught my attention. There's one that you said, hopefully this is right. You said, ultimately, an eating disorder is a life disorder. So that was quite powerful
Yeah.
too, the way you said that.
Yeah, thank you. That was a realization early on when I looked in the mirror and realized, started to do the work and realized, okay, what's going on here? And it was absolutely a life disorder, because I wasn't, my eldest child is on the spectrum and wasn't diagnosed at the time. So, I was struggling with that, and two other little children. And, I was coping with comfort eating. I mean, but it impacted my entire life. It was a life disorder. I
Right.
needed I needed to I needed to be well to heal my body so that I could be, well, the best mother for them and set the right example, and I wanted to be active with my children. Now we hike together, we ski together, and
Yeah.
um, and they're older, and I, there's obviously still challenges that come with teenagers, and, well, grown teenagers, and my neurodivergent eldest, who is phenomenal, but still navigating some challenges, and I'm supporting them through that. But now I can do
Mm,
it from a place of wholeness, where I'm calm and grounded, and
right.
be what they need. That's
Right.
it. And we can't do that if we're dysregulated as parents, and we're not using those. We don't have the tools to cope, which
Yeah.
I didn't when I was younger, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely a life disorder. It certainly, yeah, was in my
Got it.
case.
Yeah, you see, because we cannot see just parts of life, right, Jane? It's the whole picture. Goes back to wholeness, well-being. That's why I really focus on this concept of well-being, because it's the physical, it's the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Everything needs to come together. Of course, there are other areas, right? The financial too, our professional
Mm,
lives, the sense
yeah,
of purpose. There's so much to
yeah,
life, yeah, than just the parts that's not,
exactly.
yeah, not
Yeah.
just about the
No, I couldn't
physical.
agree more.
And then
Yeah.
let me see if there's another quotes that there's so many quotes here. I have too many things, way too many things. um you said so often we eat to be somewhere else. That's another thing you said that caught my attention. And then you
Mhm.
said shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? The feeling of shame. That's a really. I think Brene Brown. She has been doing like a beautiful work for a while now on
Oh,
shame.
Absolutely. No, phenomenal. I've read a few of her books, and they were really very, very helpful too, because I recognized that part of the reason I wrote the book was to heal and come to terms with my past, because there was shame I carried for a long time around the fact that I had been so overweight, and I did feel shame because, of course, society and the patriarchy told me I wasn't good enough, because you're not, you're told you're not, and you're not
Yeah.
treated as well in society, and you are judged. I mean,
Yeah.
it's appalling, and I carried that for a long time, and I had to make peace with that. And so the writing of the book was extremely, it was very, very powerful and healing, and it was, I needed to do this. I absolutely had to write this book and
Mm.
share, yeah, for a
Yeah.
lot of reasons, and that was one of them, to make peace with my past and to overcome that and recognize that actually I was good enough. Doesn't matter
Mm.
whether I was in a larger or smaller body. I absolutely
Mm.
was. I didn't believe it when I was in a larger body, and that's incredibly sad.
Right, right.
But
Yeah, I'm so glad you did though, because the first healing that happens with it's our own, isn't it? When I wrote my first book too, I remember I was so grateful. It's almost like letting all this out. It becomes a lot more clear too, and to us, like what we've been through. I think the sense of compassion, self-compassion arises when we see how much we've been through and why we
yes.
yeah, why we still have living the life that we are living, or the challenge that we are going through. So there's a reason for it. So self-compassion, it's so important. It's so important. Thank you so
Oh,
much for your beautiful work. Thank you.
oh, my pleasure, and thank you for having me. It was, yeah, no, it's
thank, Thank you,
absolutely.
Jane. I want to mention your website. So Jane McGuinness, theauthor.com, and your book,
Mhm,
it's there on your website and also on Amazon. I also want to
mhm,
mention that at this time you're not offering any counseling services, because some people might. I have your bio here that you're a counselor, but
mhm.
are you planning to coach at some point? I'm just kind of, or your second book.
I
Talk to me about your second book too.
Yeah, no, no, I wouldn't say I'm completely closed off to that. I certainly enjoyed the work I did very much, but at the moment I'm writing full time, and I'm really focusing on, yeah, I'm working on a couple of books actually, and yeah, at the moment, quite excited, because I realized that the next question people are starting to ask is, well, more about the ongoing journey of the long term maintenance, and how do we keep weight off? Because for
Mhm.
most people, statistically, they do
Yeah.
regain. Like, what do I do to actually to maintain my health, but also
Right.
from a really holistic place of, considering like the mental, the spiritual aspects. So, so I wanted to also share what I've learned, share the common sense, um, of course, incorporating humor, because I don't know, it's this, it's always
Mhm. Yeah.
silly, it always does happen in my world, like with you, with regularity. But
Yes.
yeah, I wanted to talk more about the how and why. And of course, I at the age where, like, perimenopause has, it's arrived whether I wanted it to or not. And so that brings other challenges, when it comes to maintaining my health and staying active. So I want to speak to that, because I think there'll be a lot of women in particular who'll be able to relate to what I'm going through now. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, and if I can be of any help and share a little bit of wisdom, yeah, and speak to my own ongoing experience of long-term maintenance of weight loss, and just what it looks like to just, yeah, without obsessing, just
Mhm.
find peace within the body, get to a point where you're feeling well and comfortable, because that's really what it's about. I want to feel active and, healthy, and,
Mhm.
wake up feeling good every morning with energy, you
Right.
know. Yeah.
I love
And
that. I love that. Yes.
yeah.
That's a great
Thank you.
idea, because I mean, not just as an idea, but it's a need, isn't it? People we that would be I mean, that's what people would ask the question. "And what now? I lost the weight, so how do I maintain that? Maintaining the
Mhm.
sustainability of that lifestyle." Do you have a working title for your new book?
Oh, that's a good question. It was I was writing the next chapter, and I have a draft, and I was writing yeah, I have one book that's really the focus was depression, but then it occurred to me I've just
Mm.
set that to one side, and I'm really focused on writing. So no, I won't reveal the working title just
Right.
in case it becomes the title. I'm not certain if that's
That's
okay.
true. Yes.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Fair
so
enough.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I want to share because I mean, I've kept the weight off for over a decade now. So again, like people here in my world, they can't imagine me in a larger body. Some of them just didn't believe me. An ex-boyfriend
Yes.
didn't believe me. He said, no, no,
Mm,
that's not you. And I
mm.
said, well, yes, it is. It
Right.
was. And
Right.
so I wanted to, yeah, just share what I've learned the last decade about,
Mm,
okay, how can we do this? Because it's possible. It's possible. And it's worth it. Like in my experience, like it's worth the hard work to, yeah, to
mm,
wake up every day with energy and to be able to go and, ride the mountains with my kids and
mm.
yeah. And hopefully not die. That's the goal. At least
Yeah.
not till I'm old.
Yes, 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 a billion times to that. Yes. I mean, you've done such a beautiful work with the book. Starting with the cover, I love the cover. I love the colors, and I love the cheesecake. I have to say, it's just yeah, it's the appetite for life again. Life is beautiful, so why not celebrate it sometimes? And I love your message of moderation, right? We don't need to go all in, and that's what will cause the imbalance by doing
Yeah,
too much of one thing. So your
exactly.
message is very clear, and I love your presence too, the way you present this
Oh.
message. It's very genuine and fun, and fun in so many ways, and beautiful. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you left unsaid, Jane, for this conversation? I know it's just 50 minutes, not that long, but is there anything that you would like to say?
Um,
Anything
oh
else?
goodness. No, thank you for asking, Valeria. I think the only other message in the book that comes through, and I share that a lot in my on my socials and in my Substack, is and there's links to that on the website too. Is really just let's all just be kind to each other. Let's not
Mm,
judge. Whether
mm,
someone's in a small or a large body, and I mean kind, irrespective of anybody's. Yeah, anybody's. We other each other so quickly. People go
yeah,
tribal so quickly and it's like us and
yes,
them, like why can't we just all be kind to each other? It
mm,
costs nothing. And frankly, like we can, yeah, people can just be horrible, and that's, yeah, and I think, yeah, I can stress that, like, let's just the world sure as hell needs more kindness right now, so let's just all try and remember that next time you see someone struggling.
mm,
Yeah, let's just
I agree.
try and just give love and kindness and reserve judgment. It's not our right. We don't have that right to judge another.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love that message too. I mean, that's what I live for, and that's what my work is all about. Because I
Yeah.
believe that education will do that. The more we get
Mhm.
to know certain things, and perhaps to listen, something will happen. I really believe in curiosity, being open. If you can be, instead of judging, just become curious. Why is somebody, that person, this way? Oh, it might be because, and then you can just be creative with your mind, a creative way, and curious. But don't, if you can refrain from automatically creating that conclusion. Oh, he, she is overweight because they eat too much, and
Mhm.
therefore they are. So that's a conclusion, and there's no such a thing in life. Life is too
Yes. Well,
complex to be that, to allow for those, for conclusions. Actually, I do not. The only conclusion that I can really say about life is that love
mhm.
is the foundation. Love can really makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. Love for self, love for nature, love for others. That's not really others. It's basically you in a different body. That's my spirituality. It kind of sees that
Mm.
way. So
Nice.
everything is sacred. So that's when, but that takes, you see,
Mhm.
that openness of heart, of mind, and then to let in let those, the timeless wisdom to come in. And not everyone's there yet, but I just can't stop doing the work. And I really thank you for joining, this mission. It is a
Oh,
mission, a long-term mission. Thank you, Jane.
absolutely. My pleasure. And thank you for having me and welcoming me. I really, really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
opportunity to
So
share.
I'll talk to you off rec and in a moment, but for now, yeah, I really appreciate your presence in this platform. And then we'll talk soon again. Bye for now, Jane. Bye.
Of course. Thanks so much, Valeria. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.